The thing with the Phil is that I think it's the manager's first genuine piece of on-pitch adversity. I want to be clear, you've referenced there, Jota, and, you know, Van Dijk mentions it post-match as well, and the Chelsea manager actually mentions it in a couple of different ways over the course of it. You know, you've mentioned that there, so the manager's had huge adversity, you know, something horrendous to deal with, and he's done it brilliantly. But I'd say this is his first bit of genuine on-pitch adversity. I also think it's our first bit since, I'm going to say the summer of 2023. I think some people would say April 24, but I think that by then, we knew where we were as a club, and we knew where the moment was, and we knew that we were good. I think this is, you know, for a collective around different levels of head loss. I think this is some adversity, and I think we're quite surprised by it because there just hasn't been very much of it.
And also the fact you win the league, people get into their head that there's not going to be adversity because won the league last year with the champions, everything will just remain the same. And it's football's not that simple as that. Football is not a constant where everybody just plays at the same level, and form is constant, fitness is constant, confidence is constant. That's just not how it works, and we're in a trough at the minute, and they've got to find the way back up to that peak. And
quickly though.
Yeah, quickly, absolutely. But I think your point before about the fixtures. I mean, if you consider we've won 5 out of 7, and we've still played 5 of the other teams in the top 8. That's
4 away, by the way.
Yeah, that's 3 away. Burnley, but we played Burnley away.
No, sorry, I mean of our 7 fixtures.
We have played 4 away, but one of them was Burnley, I think probably the worst team in the league. So we can probably we can part that one. But the rest of the fixtures, we have had a genuinely tough start. Yeah. Like we can't forget that, and that's probably not helped with the ability to get things so play our way into form. Like you look at, for example, we've got 8 games from after the next international break, whereby I think the second hardest game is Brighton at home.
Yeah.
Now, if you put Brighton at home into the run of fixtures we've had now, might be the second easiest. Might genuinely be the second easiest, and that is. I'm not saying that fixtures should be all easy or all hard or whatever, but it would be nice to be able to get a bit of rhythm up in terms of who we're playing, whereby we just feel like we're playing genuinely difficult games, and that's fine. You've got to play them at some point, but I'd like them if we weren't playing them all together, and 3 aways in a week as well. Like, I mean, it sounds like a ridiculous thing to say now after the event, but the Premier League surely got to look at this, that teams playing 2 away games either side of a European game. Like, I know they do the fixture listing that you were never organised to play 3 league games away from home or at home in a row. They do that. Perfectly sensible. They've got to do something whereby teams aren't in that position. It's a hard thing to do, and there's got to be a little bit more.
Well, it comes for us later in the season.
Absolutely. I know
you are. I'm just saying it comes for this. Like I've done the same thing as you. You and I are similar in this matter. I've looked all the way ahead, and there's runs that come for Liverpool that are genuinely nice and genuinely kind. And let's be clear about that. But then you've got to put the fucking points on the board. Then, and the concern at the minute with the adversity, Ian, is that there is, I feel like the manager, I don't know what his plan is for the international break. I'm not saying he's got to sit in his house or only go the AXA. If he wants to go and have a break, he can go and have a break. But I think he's got a lot to think about. To think about before we come back. This is a tough time. He's got all the grace in the world as far as I'm concerned, given last season and everything that went on in the summer. But this is the point now where you become the Liverpool manager when your back's up against the wall.
Yeah, but oh my God, he's got so much grace. I mean, any of the nonsense that people may or may not have seen online is true, where it's talking about, things like, is he the right man and all that? I mean, come on, let's have a fucking sensible conversation. The guy's been unbelievable. He's been unbelievable, and he's allowed to get things wrong, and all managers will get things wrong sometimes. That is just the territory. So, yeah, he has got a lot to think about, but it's not easy, and, some of the stuff the lads have laid out there is all really, really fair. Some of those games, regardless of whether you're in your pomp or not, they are a tough set of fixtures, and there is a lot of challenges with all the new faces and stuff, and sometimes it sounds wild, but sometimes you do almost just forget a little bit of what this group have gone through in the summer, and I think that's perfectly fine and fair. And again, I've seen people just dismissing that a little bit too easily. Who are we to dismiss that? No, we're not inside that training ground and that group of people. So I don't think you can do that. Anyone who's gone through any form of grief knows that sometimes it comes in waves, it affects people in different ways, and it won't always be plain sailing. So, we can all sit here and at times give them a little bit of a hard time, and then you come away and you think, well, I might be a bit too harsh there, I don't know, because it's hard to know. But I think all you can do is act in good faith and sometimes just judge what you're seeing on the pitch, and go from there. And as long as you're coming at it from a really good, honest place, then I don't think you can do much more than that, in fairness. But there's no doubt, the captain coming out and speaking about it means it's still a factor, it's still a thing, and we've got to maybe think a little bit about that. But yeah, there's challenges to come. But you know, you mentioned there about putting points on the board. You know, after the international break, they have got Manchester United. You know, they have got Brentford. They have got Aston Villa. So you're looking at those fixtures and thinking, well, they are fixtures you've got to go and win. And there's games in between there. There's a European game, by the way.
They're not bankers.
No, they're not bankers, but and there's a European game in there as well. There's a Crystal Palace League Cup game in there. So that all adds to it in terms of...
I'm picking Phil and Rob up front.
You've got,
I play me centre-back.
But yeah, I've got to be honest, all of a sudden you look at that fixture and you think, well, you know, that's got to come way down the list of priorities, and the league fixtures have got to take priority. The European game, they'll need to get something given what happened in Turkey. But they are games now where Liverpool are going to be right at it. And as you said, the manager's got 2 weeks just to work a few bits out.